All right, now we're going to work on extending depth of field. Sometimes you have to choose to focus on either the background or the foreground of a scene because the depth of field, which is the range of distances in focus, is narrow. If you want a wider range of distances to be in focus, more depth of field, but it isn't possible because of limitations of the equipment or the location, you can take a set of photos focused along the range of distances you want to appear sharp. You can merge the photos in Photoshop using a process sometimes called focus stacking. You'll get a single image with the combined depth of field of the image set. Because you'll need to align the images exactly, it's helpful to use a tripod to keep the camera steady. However, you may be able to get good results with a handheld camera if you can frame and align them consistently. In this exercise, you'll add depth of field to an image of a wine glass in front of a beach. So, showing you what we are going to do. You see in this image, you see how this is not blurred, but you see that the wine glass is blurred. This is the final image, so you see that everything is completely in focus. So that's what we're going to do. And it's really not as hard as it might appear. So open up this, I don't know if y'all can hear that thunder, but boy is it thundering. My whole house is shaking. Let's open up this glass start and click File, Save As. I'm going to do glass underscore and then my last name. And make sure it's Photoshop. It's in your lesson 5 and save. Click OK. See that it's now changed, so yours should be changed as well. All right, in the layers panel, if you hide the beach layer, so only the glass layer is visible, the glass is in focus, but the background is blurred. See that? Glass in focus, background blurred. If I were to just show you the beach, see how this is blurred and that's in focus. All right, I think I moved something up here. See how this is down here? I didn't mean to. Let me get off that move tool. All right, so show the beach layer again, and now you see now, okay. Hopefully you didn't move stuff. So we're going to merge layers using the part of each layer that's in focus. First, we'll need to align the layers. So in the layers panel, we click here. I'm going to hold down the shift key and click the glass so they're both selected. And then we're going to choose Edit, Auto Align Layers. You get a dialog box that opens up. Because these images were shot from the same angle, auto will work just fine. You see that you have perspective, collage, reposition, spherical, and cylindrical. It's a big word. So select auto. Make sure vignette removal nor geometric distortion is selected. So they are selected on mine, so I'm going to uncheck those. Then click OK, and that will align the layers. Here's a tip for you. When aligning layers that are not involved in a panorama, reposition is often the best option to use. In this exercise, reposition is the projection that the auto option chose. Now that the layers are perfectly aligned, we're ready to blend them. Make sure both layers are still selected over here. Then choose Edit, Auto Blend Layers. You have another dialog box that opens up. Select Stacked Images. Seamless Tones and Colors needs to be checked. And make sure Content Aware Fill is not checked. So uncheck that and click OK. The technique in this exercise called focus stacking is useful for macro photography where the depth of field is typically very shallow. Multiple images with shallow depth of field are shot at different focus distances and then merged. So now that we've done that, both the wine glass and the beach behind it are in focus. Because auto blend layers combine the sharpest parts of each image. In the layers panel, notice that both the original layers are preserved and blending is achieved by masks that hide the out of focus areas of each image so that only the sharp areas of each are visible. You see that that's what these things are here. Those are the masks that we created. So let's click File and then Save. Beautiful. Before we start this next little thing, let me ask you this, see if you've been paying attention. The technique where multiple images with shallow depth of field are shot at different focus distances and then merged, what is it called? Is it depth merging, focus stacking, depth stacking, or focus merging? The correct answer, focus stacking. There you go. You're welcome. So now we're going to remove objects using content-aware fill. You've used the content-aware features in some pretty impressive ways in earlier lessons and to fill in the sky in the panoramic project in this lesson. Now we're going to use it to remove an unwanted object and have Photoshop convincingly fill in the area instead of leaving a blank space. So you see this Japanese garden. Here's what we're starting with. Here's what we're finishing with. You can see this rock and this reflection are not in this one. So that's what we're going to end up with. This doesn't look beautiful to me. I can still see it, but using this tool, this is what we're going to end up with. So if you haven't already, go ahead and open this Japanese garden. And we're going to click File, Save As, and Japanese garden _ your name. And click Save. Oh, let me cancel. I don't want it as a JPEG image. I want it as a Photoshop file. Change this to Photoshop. All right, now we have a background. We're in a Photoshop file. Select the lasso tool. Right here, see here's your tools, lasso tool. Drag a selection marquee around the rock on the left and the rock's reflection below it, including some of the water around it. Selection can be approximate, doesn't have to be exact. Okay. And then we're going to select Edit and Content Aware Fill. Select that. You have Preview Panel. So you can drag the divider between the image and the Preview Panel. You can drag the Preview Panel tab to undock it. You can make it float around. It's available only when using Content Aware Fill. It's talking about this panel right over here. So the left side of the Content Aware Fill dialog box displays the image and the selection you made. The colored area, displayed in green by default, indicates areas Content Aware Fill will sample or use as a source for filling the removed area. The right side preview fill you get from the sampling area combined with the settings in the Content Aware Fill options panel. The most important settings to look at first are the sampling area options, which is right here. Auto is selected by default. It analyzes the image to improve the sampling area and excludes areas that it thinks are dissimilar to the area around the selection. Notice that the trees are not part of the sampling area. The reason why is because Auto decided that trees areas are too dissimilar to the water you selected. Rectangular uses the entire image as a sampling area, except the image. And Custom doesn't apply an initial sampling area. You use the sampling brush tool to manually paint the parts you want Photoshop to use as the sampling area. How do you choose which one to use? Start with auto because it works well. It will require the least amount of manual retouching. Try the other options when auto produces results that aren't easy to work with. If the preview panel shows parts of the selection that still aren't sufficiently convincing, you can use the sampling brush to customize the sampling area further. The sampling brush is the first tool in the toolbar along the left side of the Content-Aware Fill workspace. If you think the area is convincing enough, no, we're not going to do that. We don't think it's convincing enough. So select this brush right here. That's your sampling brush tool. And press the left bracket key. The left bracket key is the key to the left or to the right of the letter P. That's your left bracket. And when you do that, if you'll notice, the size up here is getting smaller. If I press the key to the right of that, it gets larger. So get it to 175. Notice that a minus size appears in the sampling brush. And so you see right in the middle of where my mouse is wheeling, there's a minus sign in there. And what that does is because that's set to subtract mode, it's what's indicated in the options bar. We are going to paint over unwanted areas such as foliage or the edge of where the water meets it to exclude it from the sampling area. So like right up here, if I paint over that, as soon as the fill looks like it consists of only water and believable reflections, you can stop painting. So let's see here. Let's paint over these fish. There's one down there, little guy. It may take some trial and error for the results to be successful. You may be able to improve the results using the following techniques. Use the sampling brush in subtract mode to exclude more areas to stop them from contributing incorrect content. For example, it might help to also exclude the edges where the water meets the lantern base and other images. So it's talking about right here. If you just go right along the edge of the water, it would not take any of that into account. Use the lasso tool to change the original selection. For example, you could subtract from selection mode to trim the selection where unwanted foliage is including, while still including all of the rock. So it's talking about, well, let's get this right here. If there are additional areas you want to fill, click Apply. The previous selection is committed, and now you can create a new selection to fill. When you're finished, click OK. So I'm going to click Apply, and then click OK. When you're finished, choose Select, Deselect, and it's gone. Now, like I showed you in the original image, I can still see a little bit of that there, but for what we're doing now, it's fine. In the layers panel, notice that that by default, the fill is created as a background copy. If you hide that layer, you can see the original image. Excuse me. So now let's click File and Save and OK. Let me ask you this. When using Content-Aware Fill to remove an object, what is indicated by a colored area on the image in the dialog box? The correct answer is areas you want sampled as a fill source. I knew you wanted to know that. That's why I told you.